Can I just respond to the issue of money? I was interested in Henry's comments because I'm not quite sure whether the Conservative Party's public expenditure plans actually add up. And surprised in view of their... I come from the health service, I'm not a lawyer at all, so having sort of lived through the kind of constraints they put on public expenditure, I'm a little sceptical about what he may be offering you. But
shall we just check what it is?
Yeah.
we wouldn't be where we are now if we were in government. And I do believe actually...
Well, we are where we are now,
well,
so...
Of course we are. Well, one of the things we're going to look at is the cost of expert witnesses.
Yes.
I was talking to a firm the other day that told me they paid one expert witness £8,000 for a child protection report. We could save millions if we look at that. We could save a lot of money on better case handling of a very high cost cases. We can look at ways of finding new streams of non-public money coming into the legal aid system. There are a lot of very good enterprises and management teams around. But my concern is that it's all very well saying that we'll wait for the next bidding round. People are leaving public law in their droves. We've got legal aid deserts starting up. And one of the things I find very depressing, a recent survey of yours, Des, of trainees, said the finding was that 7% only of trainees see their future in public law, and I find that very, very depressing. When I was at law school, the figure was probably near 25%.
You did mention the possibility of more money.
More money, certainly. More money from other sources we're going to look at very, very urgently. And I also feel, John, but when we take over the Ministry of Justice, we'll be able to find savings in other areas. I mean, spending 40 million plus on the Supreme Court, for example. But the whole court service is in meltdown, right? Morale is absolutely chronic. But the government is spending money on the wrong things. And a small amount of savings in a number of those budgets actually would make we're not talking about a very big budget, the legal aid budget. In terms of government's overall expenditure, these are crumbs in the trouser turn-ups of Ministry of Work and Pensions, and we will find savings elsewhere, and we will support what is one of the pillars of the welfare state. We feel that very strongly.
We can't let Gordon Brown hear of 2 rounds of applause for the Conservative legal aid. Phillip, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, let me just talk about money. Well, no, I'm sure that... let's just talk about money. What's happened to it, first of all? It's actually gone up 1.5 billion to 2 billion since 97. Now, of course, there has been the issue about where that money has gone to. But as you will know, that since in the last 2 or 3 years, there has begun to be a clawback in terms of rebalancing between criminal and civil legal aid, which is what we want to see. The story of legal aid is we spend more money on legal aid in this country than any other country. It's £38 per head compared. Well, it is. You cannot.
The figures are up the creek.
No, they're not up the creek. You may not like them. You may not like them. You may not like them, but that
doesn't
is
address
fact.
the issue.
But why
of course
is
they address the issue, because you know
for this environment, this country, it has numerous people coming to it. There are many, many factors that are relevant here that are not relevant in other jurisdictions.
New Zealand.
Why is it a problem that we spend £38,000 on people who are vulnerable, poor, and who need representation? Why is that
it's
such
not
a problem?
a problem at all. It's not a problem at all. But I was told.
But you tell us it is.
No, what I've said is we have the most generous legal aid system in the world. 38 quid per head.
It's a drop in the ocean. The legal aid budget will fund the NHS for 2 weeks.
Less than that.
I'll tell you something else. I've been in practice 25 years and I've yet to earn what an NHS consultant earns, and the paid holiday, and the pension, and the rest of it. And I've dedicated my life, and everybody else in this room who's my age, to that. We've been just treated, and we have been treated, as if we are absolute dross.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know why you think you're being treated as dross.
We are.
You pay us less than you pay us
Ask
less
us what
than
we are.
I don't pay you.
Right, okay.
How much you earn?
Please explain to me Please explain to me why an NHS consultant can charge £240 an hour for his expertise in connection with a shaken baby, and I will go to court on behalf of that child to represent that child, and the best rate I can get is somewhere about £70 an hour. How is that right?
I'm not sitting here micromanaging what you are paid.
You are, but you are.
What?
You are.
Well, hang on a minute. He is supervising policy.
No.
She is doing the paying. So let's just try.
Let's get back to the point. The point is, of course, we could spend more money on legal aid. And I'd love to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to spend a lot more money on legal aid. And I could go to any other part of the public sector, because legal aid provision is part of the public sector. And the people there would say, why don't you spend more money on this particular service or that other service? So inevitably, governments have to choose, they have to make priorities. The point I'm making to you is that the charge against me is that this government has got a real downer on legal aid. The fact is that we've seen a big increase in legal aid expenditure in the last few years.
Right.
The fact...
Not to the lawyers.
Not to the lawyers.
Well, that's with the greatest respect. You know, this isn't a managed service where I'm responsible for the salaries of individual lawyers.
In 2004,
You've done that because
in
it's
2000
cheaper for you to have employed practices rather than nationalised services, which would cost a great deal more.
We've done you a favour. You don't have to pay pension or
Well,
sick
I just
pay or
actually want to get the person who signs the cheques, just to sort of put her perspective on it. It's a bit tricky to take him into the micro aspect. I mean, a question I as a layman would ask is, you know, have you started getting expensive practice managers and all sorts of added bits and pieces that cost? Are they getting the money, perhaps?
Well, no, I can tell you they're not. And nor are the partners. Nor are the
Anyway,
partners.
Okay, but the job of the Legal Services Commission is to commission services that meet client needs, and so far very few people tonight have even mentioned clients. I'd like to come back to that in a moment. No one is talking about clients, and actually what we've seen is more legal aid practitioners queuing up or putting up their hand to do work. I've mentioned civil bid rounds, and I've also mentioned the fact that we are 7 times oversubscribed. The last time we issued the crime contract, and there is another one now, so I don't know, but last time we saw 90 new firms, of which a third wanted to expand. And all of you are seeing more clients. So all of that does not sound like a system that is in decline. And Caroline and I were at the same meeting yesterday where we talked about doing some work on medical experts, specifically on the cost of medical experts, which we all recognise.
Which you promised you would do in 2004.
Well, we are
in
actually doing it.
2004. In
Well, can I just-
2004.
Well, let's hear what she's going to do.
All right, but
We're
it's
actually
4
doing
years
it
later.
now. It's publicly available. It is a pilot project which we are doing with the NHS to see if we can manage exactly that point of pressure, which is the increasing cost of medical experts, which you've all
With the
identified.
NHS knowledge
I'm going to wave the white flag at this point.